we are going to have the 7th edition of Senior Talks program on title Innovation and Projects. So innovation and projects, it's very close to all engineering graduates, and projects are a mandatory requirement as per the statutory authorities for completing your degree. And the conventional model of projects have gone, especially in our SIRAM group of institutions. If you might have observed after the induction of innovation center, the project which will be only done in the time of final year, and that kind of traditional things have gone, taken the backseat, and a lot of innovation and this kind of good project oriented ecosystem is in place in our college, which is very encouraging. So many colleges are trying to copy our model. Am I audible? Is it clear to everyone? Because yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's clear.
Right. Okay. So this ecosystem is very difficult to establish in an institution, and we are successful by doing this. Since 2015, we have been doing this, and we have different projects and innovation centers in different domains, like be it embedded, be it core mechanical or IT related. So and also our students have been encouraged, or the environment is provided by the institution to think innovative and to participate in various national international competitions for representing the institution and taking up their ideas. And majorly the one success what I see here is the interdisciplinary aspect. So the major thing what I see here is the interdisciplinary aspect, which is not been successful even from deemed universities or autonomous colleges. But we could able to successfully do it forward only with the help of your faculty members and with the students. So to take this innovation and project student, because now if you might have observed, like only a group of students repeat
Arun sir, your audio is breaking.
Okay, got a call and disconnected. Right? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I don't know where did I leave. So I'll just continue where did I stop. So interdisciplinary, and as I said, when I enter the innovation center, I'm very overwhelmed to see the number of projects, the involvement of the students who are working around the clock during the weekends. Even now lockdown is in place, and if you come to our innovation center, there are a lot many students from different disciplines. It's not one department taking it. All the discipline students are working. There is one student who is working on an actuator based water management, so that in washrooms without using your hands you can wash your hands without without touching the tap. Similarly, there is one batch. If you see my room or principal room, the visitors will be more, right? So many people will be using the doors, handles, and other things. So touchless, door management system. The students have worked. Yesterday, they given me a video of the demonstration. Also, they are successful in it. Very soon, we will be adopting it in our college. And touchless sanitizer, sensor-based sanitizer dispenser. Lot many projects the students are doing. But the little factor which is very much in concern is when repeatedly group of students are involved. Like the participation is not throughout the college. So we thought, why don't we have this session, through alumni talks and give an insight to the students and what is innovation, how we can innovate. Because don't think that innovation should be driven by someone. So you can innovate yourself. And when we were thinking, like, why don't we organize a program in this topic? And as soon as I think about innovation and projects, immediately Shubhendu came into our mind. As I think he will be introduced very formally by principal, right? He in a nutshell, like he is our alumnus, and he is a very active alumni in our alumni association. He is one of the founder executive committee member of the alumni association. And Shubhendu is a single point, like he's always available across a phone call. Whenever I need any technological solution or support or any updates technologically, the first number I would ring up is Shubhendu. I'll call him and ask him, because he is not only alumnus of SIRAM, he is also a proud alumni of IIM Bangalore. And though he had multiple opportunities, because I seen him as a student. That I know during his final year, he got multiple placement opportunities to get employed, but he had his aspiration to become an entrepreneur, and he's successful in his venture. Now he's coming out with lot many ideas, and he's been investing in lot of startups. And not just that, in a year, probably Shubhendu would visit our campus around 5 to 6 times or 10 times also, in person. Whenever there is he is a part of various advisory boards of our
Yes.
yeah, various advisory board of the
Yes.
and he has been guiding like there are almost 3 students have been selected in this year's Smart India Hackathon by MHRD, and he is guiding all the teams. So like this, his contribution to the upliftment of the college and to bring the students. Am I audible, right? Okay. So his contribution is enormous. So
Yeah.
why did I choose this topic for Shubhendu is because whenever he comes for the advisory board meetings or whenever he comes for discussion, he always insists us to encourage the students to do projects. Do projects means literally do projects, because we know very well how the students will complete their project. Within a matter of hours, you can go buy some readily available projects and reports, and you can come and submit here. A lot many things students do. It doesn't mean that we don't know all this what is happening around. But he always during the advisory board meetings, sir, please let it be of any skill, be it a simple project or be it a complicated, interdisciplinary project, doesn't matter. But please encourage the students to do the project on their own. So this is the word he keeps on repeatedly insisting on. So I thought when Shubhendu is going to address, I think innovation and project should be the very ideal topic for Shubhendu to address to you all. So, and moreover, I expect this session is going to be very informative. So I've invited and opened doors for our group of institution students and staff, and also the innovators. Innovators means like innovation center coordinators of the Sairam group of institution. They are also here on board. So I think let us look forward to have a very fruitful discussion and informative webinar from Shubhendu. I welcome you, Shubhendu, on behalf of Sairam family. Once again, very cordial welcome, and appreciate Alumni Association for repeatedly organizing these kinds of programs back to back in the benefit of students. And I wish you all a wonderful, lively session. So thank you, and over to Hari Krishna sir.
Thank you, sir. I request our principal, Sir Dr. B. Shadakshapa sir, to introduce today's resource person, Mr. Shubhendu. Please, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Hari Krishna. Due to poor bandwidth, I'm not able to enable my video. Is it audible?
Audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Good morning. Namaskara. Good morning, all of you. Hope all are doing good. Respected dignitaries on the panel, our management representative, Dr. Arun Kumar, Trustee Sri K. Patel sir, heads of the departments, my student and proud alumni of Sri Sairam College of Engineering, Mr. Shubhendu Sharma, Secretary of Alumni Association, Dr. Hari Krishna, Founder Secretary, Mr. Girish, and student coordinators of Innovation Centers of Chennai colleges, both the colleges, and participants, and my dear students. I welcome you all for this senior talk webinar on title Innovation and Projects. Somehow this topic is very close to my heart. Before I introduce the speaker, let me share a few words about innovation. Innovation means a new idea, creative thoughts, new imaginations. If you want to be successful in your life or career, you need to be more innovative. To become more innovative, you have to think big. At Sri Sairam College of Engineering, we are focusing more on skill-based learning. We established innovation centers with 3 domains, such as IT, embedded domain, and general domain, in the name of our founder chairman, Sri Leo Muthu Innovation Center. And also we established MSME Center, Business Incubator, IEDC Cell, and these 3 supported by AICT, Department of Science and Technology, and Government of India. We also established a Visionary Learning Community of India to make students industry ready. Also, we established the Center of Excellence on Drone Technology. All these we have established mainly to bridge the gap between industry and academia. And we at Sri Sai Ram College of Engineering, we are focusing more on skill-based learning. So skills are very, very important. For that, again, our CEO is introduced Coursera courses. So a majority of the faculties and students, they're doing wonderful things in Coursera platform to acquire more skills with the help of Coursera. So if you acquire more skills, and these skills, it is going to drive your life. So coming to the speaker of this webinar, I'm very happy to proud to introduce my student to this online gathering as a teacher. Mr. Shubhendu was my student during the year 2006 and 2007. He was very closely associated with me since 2006, and he completed his degree B
So
in
we are
computer
losing
science
you.
and engineering. Not audible, sir. Now it's audible,
Audible, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Audible.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Sir,
He was
sir is audible
sorry.
to
Sorry.
others?
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yeah, I
Sir.
think
Audible.
okay. He was closely associated with me since 2006. He was graduated in the year 2007 from Computer Science and Engineering Department. Later, he completed his master degrees in management from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, IIMB Bangalore. Currently, Shubhendu is a Chief Operating Officer, Wi-Fi Dabba, YCW17. He is the founder of Wi-Fi Dabba Incorporation and Midley Classic Technologies Private Limited. At Midley Classic, he built digital products, particularly those that make more productive and successful every day. He is also founder of Legworks Lab LLP, where he developed SMS-based communication platform for schools and parents. He is also co-founder of Tofu Technologies Private Limited. He holds 2 patents in wireless network engineering domain. He won the prestigious Star of the Year award by British Telecom PLC and Employee of Quarter 3 times. This is about my student, Shubhendu Sharma. So I welcome you on behalf of Sri Sai Ram family. Once again, I wholeheartedly welcome you, Shubhendu, to this webinar. I request all my students, please, he is your senior. He has come to this webinar to share his experience. I want everybody to interact effectively with him and try to take what best is possible from. You can discuss with him, try to interact him. Okay, please make use of this program effectively. Thank you, one and all. Over to Hari Krishna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your warm welcome.
Thank you.
Shubhendu, the entire session is open for you.
Thank you, sir. First of all, this is pretty much overwhelming. I hope everybody is doing safe during these unprecedented times and taking good care of yourself and your family members. This is something new for me to, be addressing a gathering of this scale over a Skype call, a Zoom call, basically. So I hope I'm audible to everyone, and let's start and dive into some of the learnings that I had during my journey of the last 13 years, how I graduated from Sai Ram College, and then how the whole ecosystem has developed over the last decade. We would also look at the details about what are the challenges and how we can overcome when it comes to innovation and project work at your college level. I would request you to participate, in this discussion. Let it be open. So please raise your hands whenever you have a question in between the session. Let's try and make more interactive during the session. That will be helpful for both me and for you to learn more together. So let me share my screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, it's fine.
Yes, Shubhendu. Yes.
Perfect. All right. So the discussion that we will be having today is around innovation project. And as rightly Arun sir mentioned, over the years, with my little insights and discussions that I've been having with the management and faculty members at Sai Ram College has been around this particular topic. The reason is specifically for two clear-cut reasons. One is, as a student, you have all the resources available how you can utilize those resources and excel in your career, whether you want to be taking up jobs or you want to be starting up on your own, or for that matter upskilling yourself. This is something which is very close to me because I personally have benefited a lot from following this roadmap that I have been able to develop over the period of years. So the kind of things that we would be discussing today is, I'll give you some context about my journey. We would look at what the innovation framework is around when it comes to, student entrepreneurship plus, project work. We would look around how to generate ideas and validate them, whether they are worth working upon. We would stress upon the importance of interdisciplinary project work, why it is the need of the hour, and how it would help you better in shaping up your career. We would also touch upon how to use the available resources at College Innovation Center to your benefit. And of course, the last closing thing would be resources, how some of the online resources that are available, which I'm sure you would already know about, but we will touch upon that as well to understand what sort of resources are available and what could be the starting point to get going in the whole innovation and startup ecosystem. So first about me. So as Sir has already introduced, but let me quickly give a background. So I graduated in 2007 in computer science from Sairam, and I run a company called Wi-Fi Dabba. So we build the hardware and software stack for internet services, and we also provide last mile connectivity. So we are just like an ACT or ACT, but a technology driven company. So that's what I do for my living. This is my fourth startup since I left my first job back in 2009. Out of the journey, there have been lots of ups and downs. I have closed 2 of my companies and I have sold 1. So it has been a fruitful experience for me. So during this, I also completed my management program at IIM Bangalore, and that was an experience in itself. We can talk about later. If you have any questions about the journey of MBA, we can discuss that later, but let's focus on the topic that we have on hand today. I have also got some experience in how to be negotiating for M&A since I sold one of my companies to Book My Show. I'm pretty sure you guys know what Book My Show is. And that was year 2016 when I sold this company to them. But first, before I start, I want to talk about my experience of how I got my campus placement back in 2006. During our days, it used to be in 3rd year of college. Unlike now, if I'm right now, it's 4th year, right? So now placements happen in 4th year, right?
Yes. Yes,
Right.
Shubin.
Yeah. All right. So back in 2006, if I remember right, Arun sir and Balan sir had gone out of the way to arrange campus placement. I think ours was the first batch that was participating in, organized, campus placement. And I still remember around 160 students were eligible to participate in the first ever campus placement, and we went to PESET Mandya. I'm sure Arun sir will have those memories well in place. And Arun sir and Balan sir had, I still remember how they had got the things together for us to, get that opportunity on hand. So I still thank them for that, getting things moving. So talking about the experience of my first job interview, so we were around 160 of them who participated from Sairam College. The one thing that stood out in that was it was a first time experience for everyone, whether it was our placement cell or for the students themselves. But the way Balan sir and Arun sir motivated us to participate and go out and express ourselves, they were very clear to all 160 that just go and enjoy the experience, and without any pressures they let us participate in that campus placement. Really helped us. There was no such pressure or any
Hope
expectations.
that is Tech Mahindra Drive, if I'm right.
You're right, sir. That's the Tech Mahindra right, Facet Mandya. Yeah.
Good, good.
So, the reason I'm sharing that experiences, I think, because that taught me a couple of very insightful lessons, which which really helped me shape up my career. So, out of 160, we had the first round where we had a written, analytical, and the standard stuff questionnaire, and so I think around the 12 of us from Sairam were shortlisted for the final round, which was a one-on-one interview session. Eventually, 3 out of 12 got the offer end of the day, and we were excited. And I was lucky enough to be one among those 3 who secured the first ever, official campus placement from Sairam College. So, sharing more from that experience, what stood out for me was the kind of interaction I was able to have with the person who was interviewing me in that point in time. So I still believe, and I had a chance to interact with that gentleman after the interview once I joined Tech Mahindra. I had this curiosity to ask him what made him, shortlist 3 of us eventually. So he told me that the kind of interaction I had with my project work that I was doing in 3rd year, immediately made him shortlist me for this opportunity. So again, there was this opportunity that Arun sir gave me back in 2005, where he gave the opportunity for us, me and my one of my classmate, Hemant Bhatt, to build the college website. And this was an experience in itself, because back then we did not had a professional college website, and Arun sir trusted both of us to do in-house website for college and put it out on the web. Back in 2005, today if we talk about it, might sound very silly with doing a website and stuff like that, but if you look at back in 2005, which is more than 15 years now, it was still a very new thing for everyone, right? So his inputs and his trust in us to build that project for the college was the sole reason I got that campus placement opportunity that day. Because the kind of interaction I had with the interviewer over there, I was able to explain him, the college project that I have done, the website. He got excited to learn about that. He, I still remember, out of 30 minutes of interview, around 20 minutes were questions around that website itself. And since it was a live project, it was a project which was available to be demonstrated. I was able to complete along with Hemant. Really gave me the confidence, really gave me the insights to talk about my knowledge, and really gave me the opportunity to build a conversation with the person who was interviewing me. So to summarize the whole experience over here, that curiosity, that level of small innovation, that level of participation to do a project work at a college level really helped me get my first job. Because I think there were around 1,500 students who were participating in that campus placement drive, and and I think more than 400 of them were shortlisted for the final round, and eventually they rolled out offer letter to around 25 people that day. So the whole idea is, your learnings, your project work, your innovation never goes waste. It always comes useful to you at a time when you don't even imagine. These are the small learnings that you can build during your, the college life that will eventually help you. It could be, you could do a startup, you could, sell your small innovation project that you have done to someone who might be interested in. Worst case was you'll end up getting a job, and we'll talk later about that, how it would eventually help. But so I just wanted to share that experience and set the context why this is very important as part of your curriculum, as well. So please feel free to jump in if you have any questions in between. That will be more interactive, and we can learn more together. So let's get started. So let's talk about some of the successful people around, right? The common things between these 4 people. I'm sure you know them all. Steve Jobs, founder of Apple; Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle; Bill Gates, who doesn't know him; and Mark, yeah, you guys pretty much use his product every day in your life. Some of the common things that have happened with them is they failed early in their career. It was fifth product for Mark Zuckerberg that he hit the $1 billion idea. Bill Gates struggled with 8 or 10 different ideas. Larry, go read up more about him. You'll be surprised how he built Oracle. And Steve, if you would have had a chance to learn about him, he was kicked out of his own company. So what bad could be, but he bounced back and got back together. Another important thing to look at is they started while they were in college. They are all dropouts. They eventually turned billionaires. But the most important things which helped them, eventually see success in their career is innovators. They were all innovators. The way they looked at the problems, the way they identified the market opportunities, the way they build their teams, the way they eventually delivered the product. It's because of one single thing called innovation, and we will look more into what innovation framework looks like. Just as a fun fact, the billionaires are more, average billionaires are 3 times more, richer than your average PhD billionaires. So the idea is not to encourage you for becoming, dropping out of college. I'm not going to be advising you that. What we are going to be essentially talking about today is how you can launch your product, your startup from your hostel room, and still you can manage to graduate. The importance over here is we specifically now, given the scenarios we live in today, it's more important to back up your, options. You should not be of a mindset to focus everything on one single thing. You should be looking at a job opportunity as well. At the same time, try, fail, but give it a shot at doing something of your own as well. But your graduate degree will eventually help you somewhere. If not, because if you go by the previous slide where I showed you the 4 example, there will be 1 in million such cases that will happen where they drop out and still succeed at a scale. But that's not the case with all the other million people that would be trying, right? So as a responsible student, as a responsible personalities, you should be looking at trying out multiple things while you have the time in hand. And we'll talk more in detail how that fits well into your college life. So let's look at what the innovation that we keep talking about. We keep talking about hearing these words. Let's look at a framework, what exactly innovation is, and how we can apply innovation. The fundamentals of innovation in our day-to-day lives. Innovation and invention are the two very different things. A lot of time people misunderstand the concept of innovation and invention. While a lot of you at your college level today are behind the things in your labs, electronics lab, mechanical lab, to invent something which is new. You might be, thinking about how can I invent a new thing. So when Edison invented a bulb, he was inventing a new thing. He was not innovating. There was nothing which existed like that. What innovation is when someone improves or makes a sufficient contribution that has something which has been already built, right? Which already exists. We talk about, let's say we talk about a electronic circuit board, which delivers a red light once the timer is achieved. But now, let's say somebody on top of it builds a product wherein, or a concept wherein instead of timer, the red light comes up when there is no, when there is no traffic coming from that direction on a signal, right? So that's innovation. That's something you're improving, something which is already existing. So that's what innovation essentially is. The conversion of that knowledge, the knowledge that you have gained while applying those fundamentals, applying common sense, and you convert it to wealth, that is called innovation. So please be very clear about the two different concepts, which is innovation and invention. A lot of time I have seen where people get confused between these two terms and essentially end up losing interest in a lot of things that they can do. Innovation applies directly to how you can convert your ideas into wealth. that flow is called innovation. Let me give you an example, more concrete example that should help you understand better. Let's take a very simple example of Uber drivers. You know, a driver A who buys a car and becomes a Uber driver. He is an entrepreneur. He is earning his livelihood on his own, and that's all essentially an entrepreneur is. He makes 50,000 rupees a month, just like any other 100,000 Uber drivers makes. At the same time, there's another driver who does the same thing and becomes an independent earner for himself and is now an entrepreneur. But the innovation that he brings in is he offers a water bottle to his customers, which results in 94% more 5-star ratings for him. And this is a true example. This is a study that's been published by Uber themselves. So he innovated on customer experience, right? So when he did this, since he had a higher rating, he got more commission. He was delivering more successful trips, and eventually he earned a 32% more profits on his each trip. So the way he applied a common sense where he could innovate with a customer experience model is what eventually made him earn more, and that's what your innovation is all about. How you can extract more from your existing resources, how you can innovate on fundamental user behavior, how you can improve the process or service, that becomes innovation. And that's a very simple and smart example over here, how you should be thinking about things in order to create more wealth. Wealth could be knowledge, wealth could be in monetary terms, wealth could be your legacy. You can look wealth from multiple angles. Sir, I'm audible. I hope no issues on.
No problem. Carry on.
Perfect. I do not see any chat messages since I'm presenting. So please, if you see the other co-host, if you see any questions coming up, please let me know. So to summarize, as I said earlier, innovation is your creativity, how creative you can be about your idea thought process and how you can commercialize them. So according to me, that's what innovation fundamentally is. If you talk about at college level, you start your project work. It could be a side project that you're doing, how creatively you come up with that idea and the solution, and how you can apply some of the thought behind it, how you can create it, convert it into a product, basically create a commercial, commercialize that. That's according to me, at least how I see things is innovation. For me, innovation doesn't stop at just creating a project. I would then rather put it under the category of invention, because I've just created it over there and left it. According to me, that's the worst thing you can be doing, leaving something in between, for two fundamental reasons. Number one, you have worked so hard to build something which is useful at least to even 5 people, and you leave that over there, and you do not put in little extra effort to figure out whether it's commercially viable, figure out whether there is a larger audience out there who would use it, who would pay to use your service. So for me, that's pure, doesn't fall into the category of innovation. It falls into the category of invention. Looking at some of the places that we can apply day to day, the innovation models is into, you can improve a business model, you can enable process. That's a process. Enabling a process is an innovation. You could do a core process wherein we'll look into the examples later, but these are some of the fundamental areas where innovation can be applied. The innovation framework can be applied. Very important question when I was putting down the notes for this deck last night. So I'm sure like most of you students who are disengaged right now with the larger picture, this question will come up to your mind. I just signed up for an engineering degree. Why do we even look into this whole thing, right? A very genuine question. If I was early in place of you, I would also have a thoughts like this. But as I shared my experience earlier, and this particular experience of my getting my first job applies more now. Going forward, just a degree, will not be enough. You will soon be fighting for your survival. So imagine the situation. the kind of recession that we would be getting into the coming years, right? After this COVID is over. A lot of companies like TCS, Infosys have already projected that they will not be hiring the way they were hiring the last 10 years. So, and there have been so many layoffs that I'm sure you would be reading every day in the newspaper. So now think for a minute how difficult your chances would be to, to get a job. This is not to scare you guys, but the objective of this discussion is to mentally prepare you for what lies ahead and how we can overcome this together. So, when there are already layoffs happening, and when the, recession is so high that which is going to last at least for next 3 years, according to me, getting a job as a fresher would even become more difficult. You will have to not just fight other freshers, but also the people who would have been recently laid off, right? You will be also fighting for with them as well. So your chances of now getting a job even, lowers down. But one thing that can essentially help you in, increasing your chance of success is the whole innovation framework and project work that can not only give you an opportunity to start up on your own, but get you so many experiences and learnings, which will essentially help you, in one way or the other in coming days. So this, according to me, becomes even more.
And Shubh, I think there is one question in the chat box. Sashank Singh.
Okay.
Sashank Singh has a question. Sashank, I have unmuted you. Can you please elaborate your question? I don't understand.
Yes, sir. I can elaborate. Sir,
Yeah, please.
is it a good idea to join the IT industry if you are interested in innovations? Because IT industry, what they basically do is just provide you with all the stuff that they are gaining and the project is coming from. And if you are interested in innovations, your idea just gets suppressed if you join an industry.
Okay. So as I understand, you are against joining the IT industry. That's the question, right?
Yes, yes. I have an offer letter, but is it viable to join? Because I have seen professionals asking me, if you want to pursue innovations, you should go for your masters. There you can innovate. But if you join an industry, it is like they will provide you work with the projects they are getting from outsiders.
First of all, Shashank, congratulations on your offer letter. If you can disclose which company you have, I will be able to better give you an insight.
TCS, TCS.
TCS, perfect. Okay. So your understanding is largely correct. The kind of work that you will expect to get in one of these dev shops is not going to be exciting work, at least in the early of your career. I do not agree, and certainly that masters is the way to take up masters in order to pursue innovation and your own stuff. However, said that, it is not a bad idea to take up a job. If you have an offer at this stage, spend a couple of years, pick up the market insights, learn about how innovation frameworks get delivered at scale, learn about how you can improve your knowledge. Sorry, you said something?
Work culture, getting used to the work culture.
Precisely, understanding how the work culture is, how as a fresher, how you can adopt to that work culture. So that learning will itself be very useful because masters is something you can always leave TCS or any other company in 2 years and then take up masters. It will only add value to you. But at this point in time, until going right after the college for MS, I don't advise or see myself doing that for two reasons. One, I've already spent 4 years in for my engineering degree, and another 2 years in another degree doesn't make any sense. I'm not adding any value with so many online platforms, and Sairam especially providing you access to Coursera and other platforms.
Yes.
It is pretty much the same thing that you will be doing in your masters as well. So for me, better would be take a job. You will also earn something. If you have any engineering loans that you would have taken, you can clear those off. Plan a better, in 2 years time you'll have a better understanding of whether I want to be taking technical role, I'm good for a marketing role. You see yourself becoming an entrepreneur by then. So you'll have that 2 years time worth spending. So my advice would be that.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
And thank you for asking, Sushant. Let's continue. So as we were talking about, as Sushant also asked, this was our next slide itself, how innovation and project would help. And it opens up a lot of avenues for you, career options for you. You know, the best could be, you know, you by the time you graduate, the best thing that could happen is you can, you know, launch your own startup. You have found the product market fit, and product market fit, quickly if I have to tell you, it's basically getting the product, you know, initial customer traction, and people are really using a product. That's called PMF, product market fit. And you know, that is the best thing that can happen. Another thing that I've already seen is, I know a couple of people from BITS Pilani students who you know, did their project work and converted into products, and launched them while they were still students. And even before they graduated, they sold those companies, I won't say companies, but product ideas, to bigger companies. And this resulted in a quick money for them. So this could be another you know, exit strategy of the project work that you're doing. Another thing that could happen, and which I have also elaborated earlier, is it will for sure help you in get a better job. So you know, if you were to interview for a Google or for a Microsoft or for Amazon today, if you have not done project work which is of your own, which is your you know, you have spent enough time, energy and resources to go into the details of a, you know, innovation, a product or a project, you will not be able to clear those interviews for sure. Because the way these companies have been built, the tier 1 companies, I call them, Google's, Amazon, and all the Facebook and all, they give more accreditation to your learnings, your own project works, the way you have, you know, done, how well you have done outside your you know, the exams and your mark sheets. So definitely those marks and you know, marks and your mark sheets are a, you know, level, first level filters for you. But eventually what you know, what helps you in crossing the line is the kind of projects that you have done in your engineering. Because these companies expect you that as a you know, as a student, you know, as an engineering student specifically, they expect you to be doing more than just, you know, scoring good in your exams. Their expectation is how creative you are, how well resourceful you are, how well connected you are. And these are some of the skills that you develop once you build something on your own. This is not something which you can go and read on a Coursera, and you know, you can then, you know, add to your LinkedIn and claim that you are an expert on building a project, or you're expert in marketing or sales. No, you can't do that. This these learnings, these soft skills, these you know, the whole these experience comes by doing it on your own. And we will look in the coming slides how this is the best time for you to do this, what resources you have to achieve this. We will look into details. And worst case worse, let it be all the best thing that can, you know, the worst thing I would say, which will give you, is the experience that you will have in building the product or a project, the however we look into it. You know, it would give you the same skill set, the same experience what a 30 lakh MBA would be, you know, giving you. I can say this because I have done both, so I have this experience. So this, according to me, these are the 4 outcomes that you can, and you know, get out of by following some of these frameworks. So as I was talking about earlier, you know, you guys are lucky because you have some of these things which are available for you, right? These I do not have most of these now. After 13 years into my career, I have a family to look after. I have other social responsibilities which come to me. I have you know, my day-to-day you know, work doesn't permit me to think more and spend more times on new ideas, because I'm now stuck from a morning to evening. I have to balance, you know, build my business, and then in the evenings I will be spending time with my investors to update them about their investment. So the life becomes totally different, right? But you as a student, you as a, you know, free mind, you have, you know, these opportunities, these advantage for you. You know, you have time. Your college gets over after, you know, 3 o'clock. You have, you know, the most risk taking abilities. You do not have any liabilities right now. Your living cost structure is so low that you can afford to build a product and a company at, you know, 1/10 of anybody else who could even think about it. you are fresh, you have ideas, you have, you guys are passionate about your life and the change that you want to bring and see this world. You have people around, you have friends, you have faculty, you have people to talk to about your ideas, your innovation. The college is providing you such beautiful innovation centers with all the resources available. I met Balan sir recently, and he updated me about the grants and the international exposures the college is bringing to you guys, and it's phenomenal, right? For us, nothing of these things existed. Nobody was there to tell us these things how we can utilize. But end of the day, it boils down to you, your what you want to be achieving. End of the day, I cannot handhold you or spoon feed you, do this, that's out of question. So innovation or any of these things doesn't work like that. This is not about securing 78% and marks and stuff like that. This is about your own interest, how you want to be doing, what you want to be doing. So we as a alumni, we as a your seniors can help you guide and present the options that you have in front of you. End of the day, it is you who has to eventually take that decision and commit yourself. You have the biggest thing that you have on your hand is liberty to fail, right? Imagine you graduating and then taking up a job, and you're fucking up at your project that you're working the company for. You will not be allowed to continue at the work. Next day itself you will be asked to leave, right? So the liberty to fail just goes away, versus the kind of time and resources you have. Even if you start working on something, it doesn't work, you can again go back and start something new again. So consider these advantages to your benefit, and try and work on something which will definitely help you excel. How
And
you
Shubh,
can
before we proceed, like we have Shaket Bhushan is having some question to ask. Shaket, you can, I think, ask your question. I'm unmuting you. Yes, Shaket, go ahead. You can unmute and talk.
So should we need to have very good communication skill in any innovative challenge?
Saket, where are you from?
Sir, I am from Patna.
यार देखो, सबसे इजी चीज होती है अपनी लैंग्वेज में कम्युनिकेट करना. देयर इज नथिंग कि आपको इंग्लिश में ही बात करनी है. आपका आइडिया, आपका इनोवेशन, आपका थॉट प्रोसेस इतना स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए कि दुनिया आपकी बात को सुने. लैंग्वेज इज अ बैरियर. लैंग्वेज इज नॉट कि आपको इंग्लिश नहीं आती है तो यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू सक्सीड. अगर ऐसा होता तो चाइनीज दुनिया में कुछ नहीं कर पाते. अगर आप देखो आज की टाइम में चाइनीज कंपनीज हर जगह फैली हुई हैं. वी विल नॉट गेट इनटू द डिस्कशन ऑफ बाय चाइना और नॉट बाय चाइना. दैट्स अ सेपरेट कन्वर्सेशन. मेरा पॉइंट केवल इतना है, चाइनीज जितने भी एंटरप्रेन्योर है चाइनीज के अंदर, they do hardly know English, they can't speak English, but how they succeed is because of the innovation they have brought into, whether it's their manufacturing, whether their product, how cheap price innovation that they have brought in. Because of those things they are able to succeed.
Yes, sir.
Communication is a part of, I won't say is a without communicating you can't succeed. For sure you have to communicate. Pick your language which you are comfortable in. If it is Hindi, let it be Hindi. If it is English, let it be English. If it is Tamil, let it be Tamil. But you should be able to clearly communicate what you are trying to do. So from me, communication is from point of view of expressing your thoughts clearly, not from a language barrier perspective. Did
Yes,
I
sir.
answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great. Let's continue. So the advantages that we have seen, how we can benefit out of those is something of what we will look into. Idea generation comes from these things itself, right? So the first step of innovation framework is how do you generate ideas, how you validate those ideas, right? Unless you keep generating ideas, you will not be able to innovate. Idea generation is directly linked to innovation eventually, right? Whether it's, as we talked earlier, right? Let's take the Uber example again. The way the driver innovated to get more 5-star ratings, was a brilliant, simple solution. It was not a rocket science. It was not something which was, somebody would not have thought before of. But the way he applied that innovation, the way he brought those two concepts, which is, make your customer happy. A happy customer would, give you better ratings. Better ratings would eventually give me more money. So the way he played the Uber system, the Uber created a system which was, if you have happy customers, I will give you more revenue, right? I will share more revenue with you. So he played with the psychology and of Uber system, and he innovated on the customer experience. So the way he picked up those ideas from a small daily life thing, it was not out of the way, it was not something rocket science, it was not about innovation in creating something huge and big which will change the world, nothing like that. It was a simple day-to-day life experience which he applied over here. That is what we are looking at, right? So 3 simple principles which help you generate such clever innovation. You need to be curious about everything around you. You need to understand what the problem or inefficiency in this product or service is, and you apply a common logic to that problem. That's all you need in order to innovate, in order to improve a service, in order to improve a product, and grow from there. That's all it is about. Whether it's take any example. You can take Amazon, or you can take whichever company. If anybody wants to pick up an example, I'm pretty confident I should be able to break it down into their innovation framework. So these are the simple thing any engineering mind will apply to any problem to solve those things. There's no rocket science behind that. All you have to be doing is continuously following this process, because you never know which idea will come and which idea will work when, and you could be sitting on a big idea, who knows. So let's see some of these the things that we have been talking about, how we can apply simple things. I'm not going to be advising you to build rocket or cars, or how you can innovate. Those are for Balan sir and his team. He is the expert. Let them guide you over there. What we are going to look about is in your daily life, how you can build small things and innovate, and at the same time see if there is value for a larger audience and how can everybody benefit out of it. Talk about few examples. I have very few examples which I have taken, right? So I visited college. I still see it's been about 13 years since I graduated, and it's still the same paper-based tokens which works in the college canteen, right? You will enter the canteen, Prakash sir would be sitting over there. He will tear a token, give the change, and you go and take your food, right? Why can't that be a paperless token-based? Everybody carries a mobile phone in this college. Why has computer science students not come up with the Android app which would automate this process? Talking about internal exams, still pen and paper based tests which are happening. Why can't students get together and build a system where you can digitize the whole thing? It helps you save so much of paper. You can then go to management and present the solution and say, you are buying so much of paper from industry, this is your cost, pay us this much for our software and we will deploy it in the college, right? Try and make those small products, sell it to the management itself. Price is irrelevant over here. It could be a token of money of 10,000 rupees to the way you a token money of 10,000 rupees also. The price is not important. The learning that you will have, the full life cycle of that you will have from identifying the problem, building a solution, testing it with students or your core audience, and then deploying it with a customer, which could be the college itself, right? And then providing a service around it. This whole entire experience of doing things is what the innovation and the project work, which will give you so many learnings. It will help you build your communication skills. It will help you learn so many new skills, from sales to marketing to customer service to how to handle the product deployment. All that experiences would be something which you will, by the time you reach 6th or 7th year in your job, is by the time that you will learn all those things, right? Now imagine if by doing small things like this, you can learn those the entire life cycle while you're still studying. How useful and how how useful that would be for your career, whether you take up full-time entrepreneurship later or you take up a job, that is irrelevant. But these learnings, these failures, these experiences that you will have doing these things, the full life cycle of the project, will be invaluable. Trust me, this is the one single thing that will help you excel in your career. There's no shortcut over here. I just created this project and left it, and I opened a GitHub repository and I hosted it over there, and that's that. Good. You will eventually land up a developer job, or a, which you will be happy in it. No harm in that. Fair. If that is your ambition, let it be. Continue with that. But if your ambition is larger, if you want to be doing more than just taking up a job, I think this whole innovation and project thing fits really well into the early learning, the career that you want to be shaping up. It will really help. Other things, you could be, it's the same notes every year the students use, it's the same books which your students use. Why there is not a marketplace model built into the school where a fourth year student can sell his third year books to the student who is now joining third year? You will make some money, you will help someone, at the same time you're able to do some transaction as well. The whole process that you will, again, the same examples, right? Why can't you students can crowdsource projectors and build a digital classrooms on them? A good a projector today would be around 10-12,000 bucks. Even if 50 students, you have to spend 200 rupees each. Get a projector in your class. Ask your faculty member to stop using chalkboards and thing, and start bringing digital class. You don't have to take any more notes. You don't have to struggle towards, if you're not able to attend the class, digital notes will be available for you to refer later. Why are you not thinking in those directions? These are small things. These are the examples that I've picked. These are not inventions. These are not inventions. These are innovation. The way you can apply small logic, you can apply small innovation and bring a change around you. If you can achieve this during your 4 years, it's a big win. It's a big win because, again, I'm emphasizing on the learnings. The kind of learning you would have had during this journey, you would be now placed in the first 1% of the students who are graduating every year, because every college doesn't have this sort of a framework. Every college doesn't encourage. Even management and your faculty members are supporting you in this initiatives. So you should be really proud of this and should be really thankful, and figure out ways how you can utilize this platform and grow on your career paths. So think about it. Small changes but big learnings is the whole funda behind the screen. Any questions at this point?
No, we'll move on.
Great. The another thing which is important is how do you validate the idea whether it's worth building and worth sharing with the community. Simple funda behind it. There's no rocket science to identify which idea is a good idea, which idea is not so good idea. You need to be open with sharing your ideas. Do not think that if I share my idea with someone, they are going to steal it. That doesn't happen, right? Ideas can come to anyone. It's all about eventually about execution, whether you can build it and can roll it out. It's all about that. So don't be scared about sharing your ideas. When you will share, you will be able to find like-minded people who are interested in those ideas. And it's always better to have a team of like-minded people to build something together. So you will only help you. The other thing that you should be doing in researching about your ideas is find similar products that are out there in the market, on internet or out anywhere else, right? This will help you compare your thought process, whether you're thinking it right, and you can find some metrics whether the available products are useful to the public. What are the pain points of those products and how you can better solve those problems. You should be looking at creating minimum viable products first and then sharing it with your friends and family. So if you were to build a car, right, let's say you were building a solar powered car. So even before you start drawing the CAD board, right, you go to the CAD board, what you should be looking at is rolling out the first viable product of how the car would behave. What are the key things that you're going to be solving of it? Share those things with your friends and family and understand whether they see value in that. Find 10 customers at least who see value in your product. Find whether those 10 people would pay for a service or a product that you were trying to build, right? So even before building something, try and build something minimum and test it with your customers. you should be looking, to the signs. What are signs over here? Signs are essentially market indicators, which gives you, demand and supply things. For example, let's take a recent thing. So there is a startup based out of Bangalore. I will not name them. So when this pandemic COVID-19 hit the world, it was in very stage, early 2020 of January, when China was the major, it was majorly into China. So this guy, I know him personally. This guy saw an opportunity over there. He picked up the signs that this is going to turn into a pandemic, and soon the world would face a shortage of masks, because he comes from a family of doctors, so he knew the importance of personal hygiene and mask. So immediately he got onto the work of designing mask and the N95 and stuff, and he made a huge money out of it. Right? No harm in making money. He did good to the world by providing masks early on in India, and at the same time made money. So he picked up those signs that what is going to be important, and he utilized that opportunity. So keep paying attention to the market signs. These are basically your stuff. Sell before you build. It is something similar to what I spoke earlier about MVP thing. You need to be identifying your early customers. Try and sell them the concept itself well before you can you have to build something. And another thing that you should be looking at while you are studying is platforms like Kickstarters. These are very helpful platforms where crowdfunding happens. You can generate a lot of good ideas versus bad ideas on platforms like this. They essentially lists a lot of ideas and see people voting for those ideas. So that is something you should look at for sure. But all said and done, the fundamental basic, according to me, remains is you need to be solving real world problems. Early in my career, the companies that I had to shut down, I was trying to solve problems which were not real for the world, or too early for the people to adopt it. So these are from my personal learnings, and those were experiments for me. I had great learnings. The kind of products that I early on built in my life, in my career, it really gave me the lessons from which I eventually ended up what I do today. End of the day, you have to pick ideas from the real world. You can't be creating moonshot ideas. Those are very rare to success. No harm in doing those, but we'll talk some other time about those.
So we have a question from Naveen Shub. Like, if you are ready, free to take questions. Like Naveen, you can go ahead, ask your question. Like you can unmute.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Naveen. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, Naveen. Go ahead.
Sir, for students who are willing to be an entrepreneur, does not have any idea, but they are very willing to become an entrepreneur, what would you suggest for them? How to get started?
So I have a slide on that. One of my last slides is on resources. We will discuss in detail about that, Naveen. To answer your question very shortly, the first step to become an entrepreneur is curiosity, to build projects, to build product. Until unless you will start from somewhere, and the best time is while you are still in college. You have the resources, you have the time, as I discussed earlier. The best is to start on a project, and slowly and over time you will realize, you will start connecting the dots. You will start picking up how the startup ecosystem work. You will be able to pick up those things as you start doing on it. So getting dirty, your hands getting dirty on the ground by building something, by talking to potential customers. Your customers can be your students themselves. You could build something which is useful for your classmates. They can be your customers. Think about the ecosystem that you are in, right? So the process of the journey of doing this thing on your own is eventually help you decide whether you are made to become an entrepreneur or you are a person who needs to take up a job. So this, by doing project work, by doing, the next slide that we'll be talking about interdisciplinary stuff. These are some of the things which you can do right now in order to identify whether, you are the right material to take up entrepreneurship as a career. So we'll continue on the resource part in the towards the end. But yeah, any other?
And we have Deepak Patil. Deepak, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Good morning, sir. My question is about in Jugaad innovation will be so innovative than a modern innovation?
Absolutely right. Jugaad is a fundamental principle of innovation. Very good question here. So Jugaad is what street smart innovation that you do in order to make quick improvements or a quick hack into existing product. So Jugaad works well if you have other resources in place, especially the distribution side. What is distribution? Essentially, distribution is the capability by which you can reach out to your customers. That's called your distribution reach. Jugaad works well if you have sorted out your distribution platform. So to give you an example, if you were launching a new shampoo, right, a new shampoo brand. So, and where already 500 different brands are competing. So now how you can apply Jugaad to, so that more people can, see your product and more people can buy your product, do a Jugaad over here, a small hack. It could be, selling shampoos only on through, let's say, a digital platform with creating a premium brand. So the example demonstrates two things over here. One is you want to create a segment wherein you distribute only online. So the people who are buying online and connect more with the online audience, you can target them. And at the same time, you're creating a premium brand, just like how Ustara brand did it. They created a men's only, well, grooming line, and they sold it only online mechanism. So this is an example from Ustara itself. So they did a Jugaad, they did a hack, they hacked into the people on Twitter, on Instagram, the male audience who were, only after that particular audience segment. So the point over here is Jugaad is certainly a part of innovation framework. What you need to identify is whether it applies, which sort of product it's applicable for. I think I said too much. I am not sure whether you understood, but any follow-up questions more than?
I think there are a couple of questions, like you carry on, like we will see at the end of next slide.
Sure. Okay. Talking about the most important discussion point of today, right? The interdisciplinary project work. Why it is very critical, and why no more the industry or your career will help you grow if you were to do only a computer science project, or just have the experience of designing an electrical board, or spending some time in electronics lab, designing one circuit. It's not going to help anymore. Look at any top companies today, whether it's Tesla, whether it's Amazon, whether it's it could be any of these companies, right? The kind of work these companies today are doing are of different, involves different engineering minds. Whether it's take it as simple as Paytm also. Paytm today hires a significant number of electronics engineer just because they are building some internal tools which needs to be, having parts of electronics. While you need subject matter experts, but according to me, doing interdisciplinary project work will again help you excel your career. Sir, 1 minute, I'll have to pause. Somebody's calling.
No problem. Yes.
Hello. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Come. Correct. Sorry about that. So we were talking about how these companies have now evolved to, hire, they hire multidisciplinary people. Talk about companies like TCS and, the others as well. If you look, they also give opportunity for mechanical people. They also hire electronic engineers. If they were to only be using IT skill sets, the computer science branch, then I don't think so anybody would be getting a placement offer, today. So there is certainly a increasing need for multidisciplinary, hiring, which has been a trend for quite some time now. The importance of, or rather, I should say, how you can increase your success rate again, whether it's a job or a startup or just a project, also is by combining, your team efforts and forming a team from different disciplines, right? So how cool it would be if you were building the project. Let's take an example from the college innovation lab itself, which I quite like personally. The project where the well project. I don't know what the name of the project is, but where on the borewell motor goes inside and can pick out the object or a human out safely, right? So let's talk about that itself. So for that particular project, mostly the electronic engineer and mechanical engineers have been involved, right? Now imagine if only mechanical students were participating in that project. There was no electronic mind behind that, right? What would have happened? It would have been a disaster. It would have been a complete failure. They would have succeeded in designing it, no problem. They would have built a motor, pulley, and all those components that are required to do it. But it would not have been automated process, right? Imagine now if you could add a couple of computer science engineers into it, and you could build a interface where you don't have to operate it manually standing over there, but you could remotely control it and do it. How cool that would be, right? So the point I'm trying to make over here is when you bring expertise from different fields, computer science, electronics, mechanical, electrical together, right? The kind of innovation, the kind of ideas, the kind of cross pollination that you will see, right, increases manyfold. The kind of products that you can think through, because now you're not just thinking from point of view of how does the website would look for my product. You're not thinking from how well the user interface or user experience would be, right? That a computer science guy or any programmer can do for today, right? You don't need an engineering degree for that. But at the same time, if you have different expertise involved, the ideas that you will be able to innovate over there, that's pretty much the innovation, right? So the way you would be able to deliver that project would be manyfold better than your existing individual efforts, right? How you can do it, why you should do it, what are the benefits? Benefits are tremendous, as I explained. How you should be doing it is you need to be spending more time with your, outside your friend core inner circle, right? You need to have the opportunity of knowing people from other branches. You should, I'm sure Arun sir can, principal sir can provide that forum where more interactions happen from different branches. It could be through joint seminars. It could be through joint, innovation lab experiment modules and other things. We can look into the details. But the point over here is you need to expand your horizon. You need to spend times with your, if you are a third year, you need to spend time with a second year student. You need to spend with fourth year students. You need to mingle with a larger audience, because just having the scope of your interaction with your classmates is not going to help you anymore. You need to think larger. You need to think bigger. You need to be, innovating in this space, how you can hack into, new things. Why you should be doing it? Simple answer here. You as an individual do not have all the expertise to do the things that you are capable of doing, right? You need to find those people and recruit in your group, right? I use the word recruit because this again teaches you a new skill set, how you can form teams, how you can hire people to work together, how you can bring them together to work on a project, right? It's again a skill set that you will develop. So identify people who are good in what they do, bring them together, let them come and ideate on different ideas, form WhatsApp groups, ideate every day on the simple things, and come to a consensus what project can be worked upon and can be built further. Worst case worst, instead of going out and buying your project reports, this, if you start early in your second year is the right time, according to me, to be starting on your project. By second year, you have come out of your dependence of your school life, where you were dependent on your parents. Second year has also taught you enough basics about life, and of your engineering course, and you should be you will have enough time in the next 2.5-3 years that you can experiment, fail, and grow together, right? So second year is the right time to start working on this projects. I'm pretty sure if you work together, college will definitely support and help you use this as a your final year projects. It's not going to be a thing that you have to invent something to show it as your project final year thing. Projects which are innovative, I'm sure they will find much more acceptance with your HODs and your faculty members than simply submitting for the sake of doing it. So think about it. It's a very deep point over here. How you can use these stuff to excel in your career. Again, something very important, the college management and staff, faculty, principals, or everybody has given you this platform. Up to you how you can use this platform. As I said, build cross-functional teams, find, keep an eye around on getting good folks who are like-minded when it comes to, projects and innovation stuff. You should be looking, juniors and seniors and everybody around who can work together. Your professors can be your mentors. Talk to them. Don't be in a mind frame that my faculty is just here to teach me. That is their core role, no doubt about that. There is the relationship between you and your faculty within the classroom, within the college, but you should have a relationship with them where you can you should be comfortable going to them and discussing the projects, the small innovations, and how they can help you. And I'm sure they will be more than receptive to your ideas and willing to help you. But that initiation should happen from your end, because as a faculty they are already overloaded with the day-to-day work, whether it's teaching, whether it's evaluation and other stuff. So that initiation of conversation needs to happen. That interest level needs to be shown from the students. That curiosity needs to be shown from you guys to be willing to asking for help. And there's no harm in asking. And the sole reason your faculty members are there today is to help you, mentor you, to guide you, and get going. Classmates and your college students mates should be your beta pool. Your first the projects that you're doing, you should be looking at how you can sell it to them. Find, whenever you're taking up a new project, find at least 10 customers who would be willing to pay if you were to offer them that service or a product. There are enough entrepreneurial competitions and conferences which happens. With COVID around, they mostly are digital. Participate in them. Don't think them as a boring session. There'll be at least some takeaway, some learning that you would eventually get out of it. You should be looking at spend sufficient time for building your final year project. I still remember Shadakshara sir, when he joined, I was in third year, and he encouraged me to start the work, and in pre-final year itself, which was third year, right? And which gave me enough time, gave me enough resources to build something very unique. We also filed a patent on that, which is a different story, but we built something very cool over there. So start early. Do not wait for your final year projects to start. That's not going to be helpful eventually, right? I would insist and request management to provide 1 day per week, at least, the full day. Once the college resumes, at least 1 day should be reserved for students who are interested to work on projects and innovation, to let them spend that time together on the lab in the college. Let that be compensated for your attendance automatically. There's no harm in trying this for 1 semester and see if students do not misuse this and genuinely work on this. The reason spending time together is very important is that's when most of the ideas come to life. While you can discuss and you can discuss over phone calls and stuff like that, but you need to have a frame of mind dedicatedly. When you are in that mind of frame that I'm dedicatedly focused, with a focus doing something, the results are much better. And obviously the weekends are always available. Students who are serious about this should utilize, find a way to come down to college. hostel students, any which ways the labs will be available for you 24/7. But the day scholars should find a way to come and spend time together over the weekend. If not to college, find a common working space in city limits itself, and spend time together on working on the project. Because unless you sit down together and work on it on together, it's very difficult to figure out the nuances of your project, right? Once you have clarity what you're building, how you're building, your market research is done, your customers are identified, your vision is clear, then individual team players can do it remotely. But until then, I think it's very important and critical to spend time together. There are hundreds of startup competitions available within India itself, which give both equity grants, which also give free grants, which also give other modes of cash and kinds, thing, which are available. You should be participating. Like I'll be seriously very happy if every year at least 5, student teams were participating. At least 5. 5 is a very small number. That would change the shape of the ecosystem that we're trying to create in the college itself, right? And yeah, faculty participation is something very critical over here. I know the motivation levels at times drop because of different level, but I am seriously surprised. It's been more than 15 years that I have been seeing college very closely, and I still do not see one single story where faculty member has started a startup with the students, right? This surprises me a lot, because end of the day you have the resources, time, mind frame, energy, everything available to you, right? While I know teaching takes a lot of effort, teaching takes a lot of time out of your everyday schedule, but it's hard to believe in 15 years we haven't seen one success story. Essentially, you are working with students, you have the capacity to generate ideas, you have capacity to innovate, but I am not really sure where the interest levels are lacking. Why it's hard for me to believe the faculty, we have a lot of young faculties also there. So what is stopping them from innovation framework, and what is stopping them to trying something at least, right, is something which I can't believe. So I would love to hear if any faculty members want to share some insights over here. What stops them from finding some time from their day-to-day work, thinking seriously on this? Anyone interested to share the insights? I guess no. Let's get going. So simple flow, no rocket science. Work on the ideas, convert into a early project, your MVP. See if you can monetize it. If you can monetize it, think about an entrepreneurship, which is your startup, and you can always repeat if this fails. And there's no harm in experimenting and learning. Nobody's going to ask you a question tomorrow, why did you fail? They'll only appreciate your efforts because you tried something which was out of the what everybody else was not doing. So my sincere request, try. That's the only way you can learn. That's the only way you can decide what you want in life, because unless you try, you will not be able to differentiate what would be a job experience, what would be a startup experience, right? This way you will be at least have a credible story to tell, a credible story to write on your resumes, and share on maybe on your social platform. So it will only help you build your credibility factor. Talking about some of the resources that I was mentioning earlier, there are enough ideation and acceleration platforms which are available. Talking about Y Combinator, the biggest and the most prestigious one, I was lucky enough to be able to to participate in it. It was a 4th attempt that I got my offer letter from YC. So it's a journey in itself. If anybody is interested to learn about the YC experience or any of the startup ecosystem, happy to take those questions, and later on also you can connect with me. I sincerely request you to participate in YC Startup School. It's an online resource. Just look up for YC Startup School. This will teach you so much that you can't even imagine. If I was to start an engineering college today, I would start a YC Startup School model rather than a typical, engineering mode. I'm not discouraging Arun sir. Please pardon me on this. I'm not saying that, but the kind of comparison I'm trying to bring in is uh, the kind of learning that is available on this YC Startup School platform is incredible. I will urge you, Arun sir and Shadak Sharapa sir, to have a specific, group that can be created who's interested in this innovation and startup platform, and I can guide them more on how to go about it and excuse me, how to go about it. It's going to be really helpful, trust me. Some of the daily readings that I recommend you guys, which will help you understand the whole ecosystem better, the whole the platform better, is your India Reddit threads, Hacker News, Kickstarter, ED Prime, Quora Tech. These are some of the things which I started reading very early on and helped me a lot to build my experience journey. And in the last excuse me, for excuse me. So for me, personally talking about my journey, I had built more than 30 products which failed in my first startup, right from the beginning of SMS platform for schools and colleges to keep updating parents about the whereabouts of the kids, miserably failed. So after that I built 30 odd things before I landed up what I do today. So but each of those products gave me an insight. Each of those products taught me something and helped me become a better human being eventually. So until you try, until you take the risk, you will not have those experiences. And according to me, this is the best time, as we discussed earlier, the resources, the time, the energy efficiency that you have right now. And don't be disheartened that something that you started working on didn't work out. It's okay. Nobody's going to blame you for that. It will be only a learning which will be with you forever. And my last and most important lesson for you guys is have fun in whatever you're doing. Because until you enjoy what you do, until you find happiness in what you're doing, you will get bored very quickly and it would be a disaster. So find things that you enjoy doing and be happy about it. So happy to take questions, and that was my journey, and happy to answer any questions, any personal questions about startups, ecosystem. Happy to take anything. Yeah.
That was a good one. Looks like Shubhendu had some take home for the students, faculty, as well as for the management as well. Good, and we will explore that opportunity of that YC, thing what you recommended. So we had a couple of questions in the chat. One is from Adarsh. Adarsh, I'll unmute you. You can just go ahead and interact with Shub. Adarsh Ageya.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Darsh.
Sir, what is the use of building prototype of a project?
See, project in itself, when we talk about, is a experiment stage, right? You're experimenting on something. You're trying to create. You're trying to create something which you can show people and see whether it's useful, right? So, project in itself is a prototype stage. So let's differentiate between what is a project and what is a product. Project is something that you're working on and for non-commercialization purposes, right? You're trying to create something and leave it at that. The journey ends of that, right? Product, on the other side, according to me, is you continue building on what you started with, which is you go out and talk to your customers, you talk to monetizing it, you talk and figure out how you can maybe start a product out of, a company out of it, and eventually do a startup, right? So that's the basic difference. When we talk about MVP or the creating a prototype in a project itself, what that essentially means is you're trying to test the market you're trying to figure out whether the idea that you have of the project, whether it's feasible to do, whether the resources are available, whether it's going to be eventually helpful to someone. So that particular segment, the subset of things that you want to eventually do is a prototype that you want to be creating before you do a product.
Right. So we have Archana. Archana has some question to ask. Archana?
Oh, hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Hi, Archana.
Sir, how,
Please,
sir,
please go ahead.
how do we carry small innovation to people? How do we get any funding, sir?
So if you would see the, I'll share my screen again. 1 second. How, where did it go? Share screen. Okay.
Yeah, we could see your screen.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you look at my screen over here, you have under idea and acceleration, I have listed out some of the platforms which offer your funding part, right? YC offers that, Techstars, 500 Startups, Nescom, iSpirit, Launchpad. So there are enough of these acceleration platforms which are available. We can have a full session on talking about how to go about it, what is the way to participate, what are the, what they look for. So that's a conversation we can have any day. So the funding is not the challenge anymore. This was the case 10 years back, but in the last 10 years, things have changed specifically in India a lot when it comes to, idea stage funding. There are enough of these acceleration platforms available. However, what is missing still is the grassroots level innovation. When I talk about grassroots level innovation is more and more students coming and participating the ideas which are useful to someone in the in the longer run. So the what I have come across these typical accelerators look for is products which can be monetized eventually, right? Somebody will put money in you if you can build something which can generate revenue, right? Somebody is not going to fund you if you were building something that nobody will buy eventually. So that category also exists, which is a moonshot category where you're building a rocket that you are saying, I will go to Mars. That's a different category. That doesn't fall under in the category that we are discussing. So the category that we are talking about is eventually boiled down to, will your product generate revenue? Will your product be useful for larger use of larger audience, right? So please focus on identifying those ideas, those problems, building prototypes, and the funding is for sure available. You can have my details. I can guide you whenever you are ready for looking for accelerator platforms. That's not a problem. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions or anybody has anything to ask or any insights? Because this is all about your projects and innovation. Probably you might be having few questions. So please feel free to discuss. And regarding funding, since we have got this business incubator from MSME, I think here to start a business, being a student or faculty, you need not have your share. Like the complete funding is given by the MSME itself. Whereas if an alumnus or if someone someone from outside would like to bring up the startup, there is some sharing model. Some percentage of amount you have to invest. But for us, for students, it's not so. Like 100% funding is given by government. So if you have a real good startup idea, I think funding is absolutely not a problem. We have our own Sairam business incubator, so we can definitely support you with our panel. And there is one more question from Shashank Singh. How
I can read that. Yeah.
So, yeah, you go.
So Shashank, good catch over here. So I come from a non-business family, right? And nobody in my family has ever been doing business. So MBA was helpful for me to build my network. Since I do not come from any influential family or any of business family background, so the most useful thing that I could use the MBA for building the network. The alumni really is helpful when it comes to IMB alumni, so they are really helpful. So the classroom teachings was not so helpful for me versus building the network, building the using the brand value of it, and from that aspect it was helpful. Beyond that, it was not helpful for creating the startup venture. For doing a startup, you do not need an MBA. What you need is idea which you are convinced, and you can convince your people around. That is one. Second is your perseverance. You need to be committing yourself for the next at least 3 years that this is what you want to be doing. And third is street smartness, where you can identify if things are not working, you can pivot quickly. So those are the things that you need to have in order to build a startup, not an MBA degree.
Okay, I think that's cool. And one last call for questions. If you have any questions, we will continue. Otherwise, it's time. We can wind up. From
How
Pradeep.
could we build durable value that could not be subject to erosion by competition? Competition. See, competition is always a good thing to have, right? Because if you have a competition, you can see that there is a demand for that. That's the reason competition exists, right? It will also help you build your product better. It will also help you, ideate better. Talking about how you can build a better product, that will be possible if you continuously talk to your customers and take their feedback, right? That's the only way you can get the ground level feedback from your customers and incorporate that change and be a better product than to your competition. So to answer your thing, if I understand your question right, how do you sustain competition? The only answer to that is keep a close connect with your customers, the core audience. Listen to their feedback, implement those product features or service features, and that's the only way you can win over your competition.
But you cannot avoid competition by any means. So that is
you can't. Like the thing that I do, I have to compete with the Reliance Jio. So kind of competition I am fighting against, like you can't even imagine. So so that's a different story. So yeah, but the kind of customer base I have and how I can listen to their concerns and understand and using technology improve their experience, that's where I'm winning, right? So unless I listen to my customer feedback and connect with them and understand their pain points, I cannot improve my service because I do not have billions of dollars to spend on marketing just like Jio and others, and win the customer like that. So yeah. We have one more question. What is the importance of internship in our career, sir? Okay. Internships are important. They are critical, Venkat. Certainly, they play a crucial role in helping you decide what you want to be doing. I see internships as an opportunity, where you can spend time at a corporate, you can spend time at a startup, you can spend 3-4 months working in a company and take those experiences and understand and decide on your career. You can figure out small things, details, whether you are a fit for the culture for that company that you're interning with. You can figure out whether startup culture is for you if you were to be interning at a startup, because a lot of times what you see is the way you are brought up as an individual, you're not a fit for that particular culture, right? And it becomes very important point when it comes down to culture, because you will be spending your next couple of years or 3 years with at a company where you are a misfit. So take those internship opportunities to identify what what sort of people you would want yourself to be working with, what environment you would want, whether you want a startup, you want to do a startup on your own, or you want to work in a startup, or you want to be working for a large corporate. So take the internship opportunity to figure out that part. Okay, we have one more question. Most common.
Yeah, from Reshma. Reshma, you can try. Reshma or Girish?
Sir, it's me. Sorry, it's her name is mentioned wrongly.
Girish sir, proxy na?
Proxy, yeah. Girish sir.
Yes, sir. Please ask your question, sir.
Sir, there's a common question for every student. See, should I become an entrepreneur immediately, or should I wait and work for 2 years, or should I do my higher studies and then go ahead with to become an entrepreneur? It's a very common confusion and a question for every student. I prefer you to answer that.
I think the advice or the answer I can give will not be the best answer, because my views are very, one-sided on this. I will not give a very balanced answer to this question, because for me, the earlier you start, the better it is, right? If you have a slightest inclination towards taking up entrepreneurship as your career, do it even before you graduate, right? Do it before even you walk out of your institution, right? Because by then you will have evaluated whether entrepreneurship as a career is viable for you or not. For me, I do not regret spending 2 years of my career working for a corporate. It was a learning in itself. I had to hedge my bets. I had a loan. I took a loan to do my engineering, so I had to pay that back. So I calculated my time key. Let me be risk free. Let me pay by my loan, and then I will jump into something wherein even if I take time to succeed, I can still survive, right? So as an individual, you have to plan for what are your liabilities, what are the risks involved, and what is the eventual thing that you want to be doing. So for me, to answer your question, entrepreneurship is something which you can try, you can do while you're still in college. That is the best time. So take that opportunity to do it. By the time you graduate, you'll be able to figure out whether you want to continue with it or not. So that's how I see it.
Okay.
Saket is asking, what is hackathon? What skills one should have? Hackathons are basically online platforms, essentially online, especially these days, where companies like HackerRank and Skilldenza, they run on behalf of big corporates and big startups, where essentially they give you a problem statement, and which is nothing but an idea. If I have to compare it from our today's discussion, they give you an idea and ask you to innovate on those ideas and build a MVP product in the next 24 hours, let's say. So those are essentially called hackathons. So you are given an idea how you can innovate on that idea and how you can build a MVP and present that. So essentially, whatever we spoke today, which is your innovation and your project work thing, they are trying to do it in a 24-hour window and trying to match your skill set whether they fit into the the requirement of their hiring process. What skills one should have? Essentially, these are more IT related. So one should be a programmer. One should be essentially a programmer if you're talking about in the private segment. If you're talking from the government segment thing, what hackathons we have seen, just like what college is providing the platform from Startup India thing, you have non-IT based projects as well. So you should definitely participate in that. That's a very good platform, and when college is supporting that, what best can be other than that. Any other questions? We see
there are a couple of questions.
My team is working on an app which is related to agriculture to there are a couple of startups which are working in the similar space. I'm taking the question which the agriculture one. So there is a big market out there for agriculture platforms, the marketplace models. YC recently funded an India-based company. So I know this for a fact. So to answer, there is definitely a market out there. Is there any chance to become an entrepreneur in company? And if yes, how? Startups. So the question is there any chance to become an entrepreneur in a company? And if yes, how? So to answer this question, a lot of these startups, if you join any of these startups like Swiggy or Zomato, Uber, Ola, all of these, the younger startups, the new generation companies, they provide this platform where internal employees are encouraged to come up with new ideas, build MVPs, and present it to the company board itself, and a lot of them start their startup journey from there. So initial funding, marketing, the customer base that's already there. You come up with your idea and basically build a product. So company will own majority of shares in that product, and you hold a minority stake. So you become an entrepreneur over there. Is there any chance? Okay, so what's your advice to teachers to support the entrepreneurship? Aruna madam, the best advice I can give over here is start building something, right? My advice to faculty is, as I said earlier, I know you have a day job. Most of you are doing this as a living, and I also do something for a living. You are doing a greater good for the larger human race by taking up a teaching as a noble profession, taking up it. Said that, if you look at any other larger institutions or a more established institution, whether it's IITs or IIMs and any of those, the reason, the one common trait that you will find over there is the faculties are running their consultancies, faculties are running their startups on the side, right? So they have a day job, which is they teach in the institution, and they have a night job where they're building their own startup. And this is across all the institutions, right? I see no reason why the same principles can be applied in our college, and our faculty members can be more involved. For that to happen, there needs to be two fundamental things. One is interest level. You need to be willing to take that extra effort, take that extra time out from your busy schedules to do something, right? First level, that mindset has to be shifted first. That's the first level of things. Second is, what to be done. There's no harm finding good students who are, good in certain skill sets, and making a team with, forming a team along with them and working on something which is useful. It could be something which is useful for the school, college itself. It could be, useful for the local Anekal village. It could be something which is useful for other audiences. But the basic funda is you need to start somewhere. Unless you try and build something, things will not move. So resources are available. You know it better, whether it's from college, from alumni, or online. That's available. So you need to start somewhere.
Okay, I have one final question, and with this, right? So from our innovation center, the students are developing a lot of products, right? Recently they have come up with touchless sanitizer and the sensor-based sanitizer. I just brief few ideas what the students are working on. So how we can, as a college, can promote or market this, because somewhere where we need to strengthen, but it's not our core, right? So is there any support that is available, or which forum can we use to market our products?
Talking about the small innovative things that have been done, right? So again, we need to identify students from our college itself who are good in communicating, who are good in outright sales, right? We have such a beautiful location, of the college, how well situated it is placed, right? When I used to travel every day, I used to be like, why did I have to travel this far every day? But now when I think back, from a mindset of an entrepreneur, as a businessman, I think we are placed in such a beautiful location that a lot can be achieved from there. So talking about your hand sanitizer and the other innovations, you have a market out there, and Anekal itself. Why can't we have students who are selling our products to the local Anekal market, right? The competition is low. The audience will empathize and understand the value of the local product. I'm pretty sure we'll be supportive. There is local market out there. Why can't our products be sold in the Anekal as a market itself? So that is one point of view. The second point of view is, what is the outside support available? Unfortunately, at this level, if you were to look at, if we were to go and, let's say, approach a larger organization, it won't be of much help unless we show some traction, right? So that traction has to be built, and this is what how we can achieve that initial traction by acquiring local customers. College has a very good reputation in the local market in Unikal. I'm not even going to the Bangalore market, which can be looked as the next larger audience. But given the local presence, with the kind of social work that college does in and around the college, I don't see a reason why the products like, you know, hand sanitizer, automatic machines can't be, you know, sold or deployed in the local market itself. All we have to do is identify 3 or 4 students who would be dedicatedly responsible for taking up that role and who are well skilled. And I'm sure there are a lot of alumni experts who are available who will be more than happy to mentor them and, you know, get it going started. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Okay, right. Thanks, Shubh. I think it was a very elaborate and very informative session. Let's see, like if needed, we'll go for one more edition. Okay, based on the feedback.
Aptly, yes, always available. I also intend to, you know, once this COVID thing settles down, I intend to, you know, I would love to get an opportunity to start, I won't say call teaching, but a more of a, you know, the weekly, probably spend 1.5 day in the college weekly and see how we can, you know, bring this culture innovation. I would, you know, I will not call it a teaching. I don't want to teach, but how I can spend more time with students and build a culture of innovation in college is what I would love to do. So let's see how that
Yeah,
goes.
you're always welcome, and we are waiting to receive you. Any good initiative, we never say no, right? So we will definitely work towards it. So I think with this we can conclude the session, I believe. And Hari Krishna sir, please take over.
Yes, sir. Sir, before concluding the session with formal vote of thanks, I request all the participants to give your valuable feedback in the link by clicking the link which is shared in the chat box. So at the outset, I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to our founder chairman, Sri MJF Lion Leomuthu sir, who is architect of Sai Ram Group of Institutions and responsible for all of us to be in this platform today. I extend my sincere thanks to our CEO and chairman, Sri Sai Prakash Leomuthu, who has been a constant source of inspiration for all the activities which we are carrying out during this pandemic. It's great delight and privilege to thank today's guest, Mr. Shubhendu Sharma, for sparing his time, valuable time in his busy schedule and giving insights about innovation and motivating students and clarifying their doubts. Thank you, Shubhendu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Girish, Founder Secretary, Alumni Association, for his constant support. I thank our beloved principal, Dr. B. Sharakshrappa sir, who was instrumental in organizing this knowledge sharing continual learning Senior Talks program. Thank you, sir. I express my sincere thanks to our management representative, Dr. R. Arun Kumar, for his continuous support and encouragement. My heartfelt thanks to our trustee, Sri Patel, our Chief Account Officer, Sri Gajendra. Thank you, sir. I thank heads of departments for motivating students to attend the Senior Talks and making it success. Thank you all. I thank our Alumni Association coordinators for their continual support. My heartfelt thanks to all students, participants from Sai Ram College of Engineering, Sai Ram Engineering College, and Sai Ram Institute of Technology who made the day. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I hope the session was useful for students and